What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? How are y'all doing this evening? This is Lee Black. I am the host of Real Talk for Real Men. Welcome to another live edition. I missed you guys on Wednesday due to duty, but I'm happy to be here today. It is a brutally humid day here in the A. I got to tell you, I literally just came from out in them streets, folks, 15 minutes ago. So almost didn't make it, but I wanted to do the show today. You know, for some of you, I know you got other things to do on this sunny weekend, wherever you are. Some people are experiencing inclement weather. I hope you're doing okay. And of course, we know this is a special weekend on two occasions. This is Father's Day weekend, and we got Juneteenth. So for some of us, many of us, this is an extended weekend. So if you decide to spend a little time with me, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you know Real Talk, we actually have some more fun conversations on Saturday. And so I already got my brother in the house. I don't know who else might join, but you know what? I'm here. He's here. Why not do the show? Fuck it. This is my boy, Kenny. What's going on, brother Kenny?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Yes, sir, man. I'm sweating. I'm hot, from running in the
Yeah,
streets. How are you?
I'm good, man. You right, man. This humid is crazy. It's in triple digits here in Texas, so I'm sure it's probably about the same in Georgia.
It's a beast out there, and we only in freaking June. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
you know what? We're above ground, so we're doing pretty good.
Amen. And I ain't
And
complaining because you know I like the heat.
I
So
know
I'm
you.
all it's
I
all
hate
good for
it.
me.
I hate it. I hate it. You know what?
Right.
But I want to thank you, brother, for being here because I didn't do the show on Wednesday, so I wanted to come at least show my face, do some content. My co-host, Mac, Tasha, she's not quite ready to come back.
I understand.
So
Yeah,
the
we
show must
understand.
go on, as they say.
Right. Right.
So Tasha, we miss you. I
We
don't know
love
if
you,
we're gonna.
Tasha. We
Yeah,
got you. I understand.
absolutely. So I
So,
talked to her, so she's still,
okay.
grieving in case people don't know, she lost her grandmom a couple of weeks ago. And so, you can't rush grieving. It is what it
Mm-mm.
is.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
with that said, I don't know who else is going to join. I don't know if my sister's going to make it. I don't know if the Postons are going to make it. But like I said, you and I are here. So if you don't know, you can find Real Talk for Real Men on YouTube and Facebook. And you can find us under the umbrella of TFG Ratchet. We are part of the TFG group, myself and Kenny. He's the sports guy on the show. And we've also been instrumental in helping launch a new media channel, Black Hollywood Report. If you haven't heard about it, folks, go
Check
out
it
there and
out.
subscribe because
Yeah.
it's the best fucking thing going. I think we got all these other places beat. We're small, we're growing, but the personalities that you get with Black Hollywood Report under the TFG umbrella can't get nowhere else.
Can't
Can't
get
get
no
nowhere
better.
else.
We got you. Yeah, for real.
We got you. So
Mm-hmm.
don't forget to like, subscribe, share my channel, please. My little Real Talk channel really needs some growth. But again, if
Yes.
you don't find me
Yes.
directly, you can find me on TFG Ratchet talking that ratchet shit like I do. So this is what I
You
do.
gotta catch Lee Black because he gives some hell of a commentaries. If
Thank you, my
you
brother.
want to hear it straight with no chaser, make sure you subscribe and you hit that notification bell. That's important so you can be alerted when new content or whenever someone is going live. So make sure you do that.
Man, I appreciate you, my brother. I be forgetting that, that part, for sure to state that. So anyway, what are we talking about today? Let's see who popped in with a
Oh,
comment.
that's family. Hey,
Oh,
Candace. Hey,
Candy
cousin.
from
How
the
you doing?
Candice shop. What's going on,
Yeah.
baby? How you doing? She's recently celebrated a birthday. Happy
Yes.
belated again to you,
Yep.
sweetheart.
She did. Sure did. Yeah.
So we're gonna keep it light, as I said, folks. And what we're talking about today, we're talking about the best father figures on TV. The best father figures on TV. And of course, we're talking about Black fathers. In this case, I'm sorry, folks, but I gotta keep it, to us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's what we're gonna
Yes.
talk about today. And look, I end up pulling up some lists. It's not definitive lists because this is all substantial,
Subjective. Yes,
subjective. Yeah,
subjective.
that's what I
Right.
was looking for.
Mhm.
So hey, different people are gonna look at their list and decide who. But I'm gonna pull up a list, and what I want to really do is just have it's lighthearted conversation.
Right.
I got my drink. In case you
I,
don't know,
I
got my
got me
drink.
I got me
You
a
know,
tall boy as they say in Texas. I got a tall boy. It's something
so
hey, I'm good.
if it's just you and I, we're just going to talk about some of the character traits that we personally appreciated from seeing our likeness. When
Hmm.
we think of TV, everybody wants to be represented. That's the whole thing about television. That's why you see more shows incorporated in the LGBT community, because representation is everything.
It matters.
Why
Exactly.
Mermaid,
Hmm.
they remade it over into with a black character, and people get up in arms. But say it again, my brother. Why does it matter, brother Kenny? Why does it matter to see yourself in a character on TV?
I just think, and this is from a black perspective. For all those that'll watch this later, all the people, me and black, we're speaking from a black perspective, because, and black says this all the time, because we only make up basically 13% of this population. Think about that when you talk about the arts and television. It's even less than that on
Yes,
TV.
yes, sir.
So to see someone that look like us, I mean, that's pride. Makes you feel good. It makes you say, like, you know what? If that person can do it, or you know what? Hey, I ain't never seen a character like that. I don't see that in my hood. But if they am I seeing this on television, that's something I can aspire to be. So it's definitely very important.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
piggyback on that and even say even how much more is important to us in the African American community. We make babies, but we don't always make fathers.
Oh man,
So
that's,
while
hey, that's
this
true.
is real talk, so
Yeah,
we gonna say real
yeah,
talk truth. There's
right.
a lot of baby daddies.
Mm-hmm.
It's less fathers
Yes,
that's
sir.
out there, and so for that reason, I wanted to highlight some of the qualities and characteristics that maybe is just missing, because sometimes when we see young people out there and their parents, if if you don't know, you don't know. Maybe
Right,
there was nobody there to show you. And so a lot of these young men in particular growing up in households where there is no father figure. They're being raised by mothers and grandmothers and nannies and aunts, and they're having to discover what it means to be a man somewhere else on them streets or on a video or something. And so I wanted to kind of just highlight some of what I think is the best father figures on TV, and just talk about some of the qualities that either we see in ourselves, we would like to inhabit, or we just think it's just a good showcase of what we as black men can be. Because in addition to us being so small in the population, when you think of black men, it strengthens even more.
right,
There's a great
right,
population of us that's incarcerated.
right,
Many of us that are gay, and that's not. I'm not holding a gay community, but they're not aspiring to be parents or to procreate.
right,
And
right.
so, when you start shrinking that number down to and really look at it,
It's
it's
single.
just not a
It's single digits
it's single
now.
digits.
You
It
right.
really
You right.
is. It really
Hmm.
is. So we're gonna tackle this and have some fun with it. There's the super fan, Miss Toria.
Hey,
How
Miss
you doing,
Toya,
sweetheart?
love you to death. Thank you for joining us
Absolutely.
as
And thank
always.
you.
Thank you
Happy Father's
again.
Day. I appreciate that.
Appreciate that
We
for
are
sure.
both parents as well. And,
Right.
I can't be with my knucklehead. And so I'm here. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
I'm sitting here with mine. Well, my daughter, she's out in them streets, but I'm sitting here with
Uh,
my son. So
I
yeah, it's
love
all
it. I
good.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Look, this list is not all definitive, but the first person on the list, I think all of us will recognize Mr. George Jefferson himself. Mr. George Jefferson himself.
Yes,
This
sir.
list is going to take you places, probably, folks, that you haven't been in a while. You maybe haven't even thought about in a while. So,
Thank
in
you,
case you
Candace.
don't know, George Jefferson, my man Sherman Hemsley,
Hemsley.
played this character, and it became the definitive character of his life to the day
Right,
he died.
right. It
Whatever
is.
else he had done,
Right.
it paled in comparison to George Jefferson. And even the song itself is iconic. Where we're
Yeah.
moving on up, and then
And the whole intro is
it's the
iconic. Yes, yes,
uh,
definitely.
Kenny the walk and
The
the George
walk.
Jefferson
That's what I'm
dance
talking about. The walk. The
and
walk.
the dance.
Yes. Yes.
And what a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know is how that character came to be. The creator of the show, Norman Lear, when Florida Evans was from a show called Maud,
Right. Yes.
and he
Hmm.
tapped her to create her own show. And initially, it was going to be about a mother raising children. Esther Rolle refused to do the show unless it showcased a full black
Full
family with
family.
a father
Right. I
because
remember
at
reading
that
that.
time in the 70s, it was important to her to showcase that black families are whole,
Right.
just like any other family. And a lot of people don't know this. No, what I'm sorry, I'm going to good times, but even from there, where I was going with that is the Jeffersons was another springboard from
From
Norman Lear
yeah, from
because
all in the it was all in the family, I believe.
right,
Right.
but
Hmm.
how it was made from Norman Lear, he got a lot of flack from showing a poor family. So guess what he did? He went and created an affluent family, and
Hmm.
George and
Hmm.
Wheezy was born.
Yes,
George
sir.
and Wheezy was born. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Victoria
Hmm.
said, I watched that crazy man all the time. George was a mess and his pimp walk. I still
Yes.
watch that show. But
Yes.
I want to ask you, Brother Kenny, as a father, what qualities did you admire about the character he played, Mr. George Jefferson?
You know, the biggest quality that I definitely admire is he didn't take no ish from nobody. He told it like it. Ti is. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, that was on you. He was gonna tell you what he was feeling. He wasn't scared of nobody, white or black, and his fearlessness. That was one of the things that I definitely one of the qualities that I definitely took away from George Jefferson for sure.
Absolutely. He, he, at that time, people don't know how big it was to utter the
Right.
word honky.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And you don't realize this was the
Mm-hmm.
70s. We was coming
Mm-hmm.
out of the turbulent 60s, folks. And for a black man to get on TV and to tell it like it is, like you said, Kenny, it
Yeah.
was huge. And then for me, let me tell you what I took from him. As a kid watching this, to see a business owner,
That
it
too.
sparked something in me to want to be in business. Because guess what? For a long time, we were being told through the systematic racism in our school system that you can't be certain things, that
Right.
the jobs we aspired to do was janitor or this and that. So to see a black man own his own business, living in a high-rise building, I swear to anybody who's watching this, I that was my dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew from watching him, oh shit, wait a minute. You mean to tell me I could work in business and maybe one day live in a building like that? Because I grew up in a tenement with no heat and hot water with rats, and then we moved to the projects. So the idea, again, representation that I could see that this was possible.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
And right. And that gave us all, like you said, man, he became a business owner and he was his own boss. And
Own boss.
and that was one of the things that, we were always taught that get you a good job, go work for 30 years for
Right,
somebody else. But
right.
then to see this on TV, and not only him, I have to give it up to Fred Sanford too.
I'm
Even
don't
though
don't say
even
I'm
though they were
coming to Fred.
struggling.
Fred's on the
Oh,
list.
okay, okay,
Fred's on the
okay.
list.
All right, we'll
Fred
get to
is on
Fred
the
later.
list.
Okay, got you.
But you're
Okay,
right. You're
right. Okay.
absolutely right. We're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
Victoria say he moved from next door to Archie Bunker's racist tale to
Yep.
a penthouse owning more than one cleaners. Yes, he told it. Yes, he did.
Yep.
He had a chain of cleaning stores, and that
Mm-hmm.
was unheard of at the time. It just was unheard of. Okay, we're gonna keep this list trucking along. Whatever you want to try to do to destroy this man's legacy,
I know. You can't.
you can
You
have
can
an issue with
try
the
it, but
man,
right.
but the character,
Right.
he literally single-handedly resurrected the sitcom, and you can't fuck with that legacy. I'm sorry. Mr. Bill Cosby playing Cliff Huxtable for a long time was the dad for everybody, white and black. That's
Mm-hmm.
how powerful that character was.
Mm-hmm.
What was about it for him, watching him, Brother Kenny, that you appreciated watching Cliff Huxtable on TV?
Again, one of the things that you just mentioned, he was the dad for everybody, which I thought was dope. That was something totally different. We hadn't seen that before.
Yes.
Especially a black father, a black father to be the dad for everybody. That was totally different. But that was one of the things I took from it. But I guess one of the biggest qualities I took from him was his patience with his
Wow.
kids.
Wow.
A lot of
Wow.
times I'm just thinking back, and I don't know, my mother's generation, your mother's generation. A lot of the black fathers weren't really patient with their children.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
The
the
bill came
children
out.
was the children was to be seen and not heard
And
from
the
that
belt came out,
generation.
right? And the
Right,
belt or the
exactly.
extension cord on the
Right,
switch came out.
right. What Cliff showed, that he showed patience with his kids, and he actually sat and talked with his kids. And so that was something big that I took, one of the qualities that I admired in Cliff Huxtable.
Man, you scared me. This is my brother from another. In case y'all don't know, there's certain things that we click on. You know, now when it starts to get to the
Yeah,
flesh, we
when the
start.
ratchetness come.
I take a left turn. You know,
Right.
the story is, she said one more thing about George Simpson. He bought the bar downstairs from the white owner of the penthouse.
Yes, he did. Sure
Yes,
did.
sir.
Yeah.
And Miss
Mhm.
Toria said, I love Cosby. You had a black family, and this is where I was going. You went where I was going, Miss Toria. A doctor and lawyer, great dad. He showed love to his kids. Once again, we had not seen on TV. Now, not just a business owner, but a professional family of mother and father at the pinnacle of their careers, living
Right.
in a brownstone in New York City and raising kids, parenting with intelligence. We're not talking about gentle parenting, folks, that we see happening here now. There was discipline,
Right.
there was consequences, but they didn't use the belt. They didn't use the extension cord. They made it make sense.
Mhm.
And each week tuning in, he was a father. I didn't grow up with a father. So I can
Right.
sit here and tell you, to watch how he parented not just daughters, but his son. He had one son. And I saw myself in Theo, and to watch how he would talk to him and the lessons he taught through his storytelling. Nobody did it better.
I agree, and you and I both can. You know, I didn't grow up with a father either, so in a house. So to see that, to see a black man with have been in the same house with his son. First of all,
Ooh,
that was
huge,
unusual for me, because I
huge.
wasn't used to seeing that. That was
Yes.
huge, and then just to see how he communicated with his son and how he loved his son, and you know, that was very important for a lot of black boys, you know, to see. You know, when that, I guess when when the Cosby Show came out, when was that, 84,
Yeah,
84?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I was 13, 14 years old. So I was definitely, that was, I need boys that look like us.
You feel me?
I needed that at that age, because I was still trying to, I was feeling some type of way because my old man didn't want to have
Same
nothing to,
with me.
didn't want to have nothing to do with me. So that was very
Oh my
important.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So that's why I said he was like a father figure to me. And
Right.
I'm gonna go another place with Cliff. We don't give the character Cliff Huxtable and Bill Cosby himself credit for. But Toria says, not a housekeeper and trash man in the projects. It was a great show. Then all his kids also grew up to become successful. You keep going where I'm going, Miss Toria.
Right.
Had we ever seen a show that introduced college and education to African Americans in the
Nope.
way, what people don't know is the spinoff show
Different
Different
world.
World came from the brainchild of Bill Cosby, and him and Claire had attended a fictional HBCU. I can't tell you the power of that, because
Right.
not only did they introduce the concept that college is an avenue to success, but a black college at that. Being a
Right.
doctor and a lawyer, they didn't go to Harvard, they didn't go to Yale. They went to a fictional HBCU and ripped the shit out of that show, ripped the shit out of it
Right.
on the show. And you are so right. The Real Estate Insider, it spawned shows like College
Shows
Hill.
College Hill. Yeah, that was more of a reality show. That was kind of
But we
whack to
would,
me. That
but
was
the point
BET.
is,
But I get that though.
yeah, but they introduced to us the idea, and think
Right.
about it,
Of
especially for
HBCUs,
people up
definitely.
north. I'm gonna be honest with you, me being a kid from New York, I didn't know what college life was like down south. I had no idea there was HBCUs. I had no
Hmm.
idea that you
Hmm.
could live on a campus with people that looked like you, and they
Right.
had Greek step. All of this was introduced on the Cosby Show
Right.
through the
Yeah,
character of Lucas.
for a lot of us, yeah, well, you're right. I was aware of HBCUs, but not to the extent of
I
thinking of,
did. I was
I was
right.
somewhat aware, but not really. I wasn't really informed on it. But you're right. Cosby Show took it to a whole nother level, man, and opened it. And I think they even said HBCU attendance just like skyrocketed once Different World
Cosby.
started. Yeah,
So once again, whatever problems you have with Mr. William Cosby himself, we're not disputing that. That's okay.
right,
You're entitled to feel that way. But
right.
I'm sorry, you cannot Me Too or kill the character that he created, because he did so much for African American fathers
You're
to
right.
showcase that. And those lessons are just as valuable today as they were
Today,
back in
right.
the 80s. No
I
doubt
agree.
about it. No
I
doubt
agree.
about it. Let's move on to another good one. Mr. Carl Winslow.
Family
Any
Matters.
list you pull up, white or black, as the greatest TV dads, this guy is on there. Mr. the character of Carl Winslow. I think, what's the name of that? Reggie Vale Johnson
Reggie Vale Johnson. Yeah, that's his
played
name.
him, and he
Hmm.
even has a current commercial. I don't know if you guys have seen
Yeah,
it,
I've seen it.
where even on the commercial, he's the dad
Yeah.
that his
Yes, I've
word
seen it.
goes. That's how powerful he was. Now, we all know that Carl Winslow kind of got upended by the character
Mm,
of Urkel, played by Jaleel White.
right.
But the central character to the entire show never stopped being about Carl, because even Urkel's relationship with Carl was integral to the show. So,
Hmm.
what was it about Carl for you? What was there anything that done it for you?
Mm, what stuck out with Carl Winslow? Uh, I watched Family Matters. I didn't watch it a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that again, his just his relationship with his children. I felt like I do know that his relationship with Eddie, his son,
Right,
they had they went through some hills and valleys,
right, right.
So I thought the way he was able to maneuver and talk to Eddie and kind of help him through his growing pains. Again, patience. I would say patience, because he showed patience with his parenting. So
My brother, you again. I'm like minds think alike. Victoria said he made it possible for black men to become police. Y'all both went where I was gonna go. When we, let's be honest, folks, in the African American community, when you think of police, it's not good.
no, no, no doubt. Still
It's
ain't. It's even
it's
worse now. It's
it's
probably
never
worse
been.
now. Yeah.
It's never been.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship between law enforcement and black men, especially,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't never been good. Let's just keep it real.
Right.
We all know, this is real talk. A lot of them went from the Klan to the law.
That's right. That's right. That's true.
Let's just keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
And they're thugs in uniforms. We know
Mm-hmm.
this. And so to see a black man portraying a police officer that had values and
Mm-hmm.
integrity was huge for me, and went a long way for me respecting that not all officers are bad. And here's something we don't often always think about, Brother Kenny, when you said about his patience, that he was a father figure to Urkel, the main character.
That's
We
true.
never saw Urkel's dad, so
That's a
he
good point.
became a
Yeah.
father figure. Whenever Urkel, as he grew up, we never saw him father Sunday with nobody else. He brought everything to call. So I'm gonna tell you what that did for me. That introduced the concept to me that you can be a father figure to kids that's not even your own,
That's right. That's
because
true.
sometimes we have to get it from somewhere else. I can sit here and tell you right now, Lee Black would not be the man he is. I moved down south at 17 years old. Mr. Harold Clark Sr., got to
Mm-hmm.
shout you out. Greatest father I know,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Harold Clark Sr. I was a 17-year-old kid from New York City and moved to Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Oh,
And
I
to,
know where Pine Bluff
yes, sir,
is.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And to watch a black man married to my sister with 3 boys eat together, pray together, have family meetings, run his house with order, teach the value of work, where you had to get up and go to work. Harold Clark Sr. taught me how to be a man. That's
Mm.
point blank, period. End of sentence. I wouldn't be who I am now if it wasn't for Harold Clark Sr. And a lot of Carl Winslow was in Harold Clark Sr. because Harold's house was the place to be. For a
That's all
lot of
right.
kids who didn't have fathers, they came there to eat.
Mm.
They went, if they came up, do you know what Harold Clark Sr. would say? Well, if you come over here, you got to go to work with us too. And he put their ass to work. But what he was teaching us as young men, you can't, if you don't work, you can't eat.
Right.
And a man's supposed to get up and work. And a man's supposed to take care of a woman. And a man's supposed to show respect. I learned that
Right.
from Harold Clark Sr.
That's what's
And
up.
I saw that in Carl Winslow.
Okay.
And that's what I truly, truly appreciate from that character. Although it was comedy and it was funny, it had those lessons in there that stick with me to this day. And I'm happy to tell you, I've been a surrogate father to many, many of my friends' children.
That's
And
what's
I'm
up.
proud of that.
And kudos to you. Let me ask you this, Black. Were you able to tell Mr. Clark, is he still alive?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have you
Yes,
told
sir. He
him how
got his
much
flowers.
important?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
cool.
He got
That's
his
what's up.
flowers.
Okay.
To this day, Harold was 2 weeks ago. Harold was visiting my mom, and he called, and there will always be a bond between Harold and I. Like we cannot see each other for a year, and even when I went to visit last year in Palm, I'm more comfortable at Harold's house than I am any place in the world.
That's
The
great.
only place more comfortable is in my own house. That's the God's honest truth.
That's
Because
great.
we have a natural bond that we click together. I love that man.
That's
I
great.
love that. That's the only father figure that I know. And I learned so much about being a man and being a husband
That's great.
from Mr. Harold Clark Sr.
Yeah.
Thank you, Harold.
That's what we need more of in our community is Black men being, that surrogate for a lot of young men that don't have them. Because,
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of us didn't. So I applaud Harold Clark Sr.
Man.
Happy early Father's Day to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Much respect
Yes,
to
sir.
you.
That's the
Yeah.
man right there.
Yeah.
And to this day, I got female friends, Brother Kenny, that call me and say, Black, can you talk to my son? Or he has some questions about college, and I know you know about this kind of thing, and blah blah blah. I'm
Right.
I'm proud that somebody would think of me with all of my fuckery and foolishness, but that I have the answers.
Yeah, it's more,
know?
it's more to you than fuckery and foolishness.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
We're well-rounded individuals. Sometimes we got a little everybody got a little ratchet
Yes,
in them,
sir.
so
Yes,
it's all
sir.
good.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. Victoria says it was how he loved his kids, and he really loved Urkel and was a father to him because his father was
Right.
going on.
Yep.
Absolutely, Miss
That's
Toria,
exactly
you
what
on
you
it.
said.
You
Well,
on it,
yeah,
Miss
she
Toria.
always on it. Miss
You
Toria
on it.
always on
And
it.
she had said that before I mentioned it, y'all.
Right,
So
right.
She
did.
on it. She on it.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. This is going to take us back a little bit. And I was surprised he made the list until I had to think about it. Who remembers Lester Jenkins?
Oh, 227?
Oh my God!
Yeah. Yeah, 227, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I remember
Some
Lester.
people don't know who that is.
Yeah,
This is
I
one of
remember
those
Lester.
characters that slipped through the cracks, maybe.
Mhm.
And on the show 227, it spawned the great actress Regina King.
Yes, sir. I watched
And
some early on her about today.
and the definitive actress Marla Gibbs.
Yes.
So, but
And
on
it spawned us the other, what's
Jack A.
Jack A. Yeah.
So these people are iconic. They're iconic, and some of them went on to become Oscar winners. So this wasn't a show to be played with. But Lester Jenkins was the backbone of that family on 227. So what if thinking back, Brother Kenny, what do you appreciate about Lester? About good old Lester?
I gotta go with patience again because
Okay.
he had to be patient with Marla because she was always was saying something. But just man, loving his family. He was definitely gonna be he was the backbone of the family, regardless of what Marla would be popping off. Well, I can't think of her character's name on
Mary.
Mary. Yeah, no matter what, Mary come in popping off at the, she talking about something. Lester's gonna be Lester, say, listen, Mary, this is how it's going to go. But he always showed he was in control and he was patient. So yeah,
you my brother. You went where I'm gonna go with this. You went where I'm gonna go with this. But I wanna thank Miss Toria for this comment. She says you are way more than foolishness, Mr. Black. You are a great role model for young men. You are going to keep it all the way real with them. We need more like you.
Yes,
I
man.
love you, Miss Tori, for thank you for saying that.
Right.
You know, and that's who I had to evolve to be. That at this stage, to be honest and real, and this is the real me. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you for that.
Yeah.
Lester Williams, you went where I was going. How too often do we see in marriages, black, white, and everything else, where a man is overrun by a woman? And on this show, she was a strong woman,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know. But I
Mm-hmm.
love what you said, brother Kenny, that when it came down to it, he was the man of the house.
Right. Right.
And for that helped me in my own marriage. That helped me to, and I learned from Harold Clark, but seeing this also play out on TV, we as men, we need to let our women be themselves.
Yeah, let them be themselves. Got
Yeah,
to.
you know,
Yeah, for sure.
personally, brother Kenny, speak on it. We don't want no weak woman.
No, no, I want my woman to be her authentic self, whatever it is. But because
Go on and
then I
say
don't,
it though.
because at the end of the day, though, if you get too crazy, wait a minute. Hey, now wait a minute. I'm gonna let you
That's
be
the
you, but
difference.
you ain't gonna just talk to me any
That's
kind
the
of way.
difference.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that's the difference. They know that there's a line
right.
because you are a man. I won't say my ex-wife last name, but I appreciate her so much. I wouldn't have married Michelle if she wasn't a strong little. My wife was a little woman, but didn't take no shit. But I married
my
her because
my
she
my ex
challenged
didn't
me.
take no issue either. You
You know,
right? Yeah, she
but
didn't
at
either.
the end of the day, when there was decisions that had to be made about the household, I was the head of my household, and that may not be popular now for to say that I'm the head of the household. I was the head of my household, but my wife allowed me to be that head because she knew I made decisions that was going to benefit the entire household, and I wanted her to be all she could be. So when I look at Lester Jenkins, I love how he allowed his wife to be
Mm-hmm.
her full self in
Right.
every way, but she never disrespected him.
No, she didn't. She
She
didn't. That's true.
never disrespected him. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read something on here that we also don't think about. It says, one would have to tip a hat to Lester for having never stepped out of bounds of marriage while Jack Hay paraded around the building in those short, tight skirts,
I
jiggling
ain't even
all that
think about
thickness.
that.
I never
I
thought
ain't even
about
think about
that,
that. I didn't either
but
until
how
now.
true is that?
Yeah, that's true.
Look, we only blood, flesh, and bone, as a song said. We're
Right,
just men, folks.
right.
And you were married. I was married.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure your wife had some friends. You ain't blind. Shit, we see. But you
Mm,
knew there was a line that
yeah, man,
you don't go there.
my wife didn't have many friends, and then the few she
Okay.
had, nah, I was good.
Okay.
Nah,
My situation was the opposite. My
yeah.
wife had some nice looking friends. There was many a day on a Saturday, I'm laying on the couch and friends came through, and it was
Right,
summer in
right,
Memphis, and they had on their little outfits. I ain't, and my wife know how I am. I
right,
can
right.
only look. I commented like, "Ooh, look," and she was, girl, don't pay him no attention. But
Right,
I even knew there was a line
right,
that wasn't
right.
crossed, even though they jiggled and wiggled and this and that. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what I never thought about that for Lester Jenkins, but it's
I
so
didn't either.
true
I didn't
that
either.
here was a man that he got eyes, and nobody can deny that Jack K wasn't packed and stacked in his mother.
Yeah, she was stacked for sure. She sure
You feel
was.
me? And she's damn sure
Mm-hmm.
paraded around, but there
Mm-hmm.
was a clear bond that he respected his wife and allowed them to be the women they were. And for that,
Mm-hmm.
man, I love it. Miss
I'm
Tori is
surprised. Lester
go
Jenkins,
ahead.
that's cool that he's on the list.
Me
Again, I think,
too.
like you said, I think he gets forgotten when you talk about the TV dads
Yes,
a
sir.
lot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Slip through the
And he
list.
and he loved his daughter. That was another thing. Let me
Oh
take that.
man.
The love he had for Regina, I can't what was her, I can't
Yeah,
think
I,
of her
well, I don't
character
know her
name.
character.
But the love he had, and that was their only child. So the love he had for his daughter, I can definitely relate to that
I was
because
going to ask you. I
I
was
only
going to
have
ask
one
you.
daughter. So
So I was
yeah.
going to ask you a question
Mm,
because the bond. What's the
mm.
speak to the bond between a father and a daughter?
It's totally different than your son because when you have a daughter, it changes your whole outlook on how you view women. It really does, because now you have a daughter that will eventually become a grown woman. So it makes you step back. If some of the things that you may have done or said to someone else's daughter, you be like,
Wow.
oh, I got a daughter
Wow.
now. I don't think I
Right.
want to rock like that. And then it's just a different type of love. They just have a special place in your heart, man. I can't explain it, but when you got a daughter, when they say daddy, because my daughter calls me daddy. My sons call me dad. So
I love that. I love hearing that.
it's totally different. So
I love
yeah,
hearing it until this
yeah,
day, even though as grown as you is, it
yeah.
just still does something probably to you on the inside, don't it?
Mm-hmm. It
Just to
does.
hear, Daddy, let me ask you a question.
Right.
And
Yeah.
man, oh man, Miss Tori, she said that, the daughter,
Brenda. Okay.
Brenda,
Yeah.
that was the
Okay.
name.
Right.
Miss Tori also says he is another father that helped the nosy old lady in the window grandson. She was raising him, loved his wife,
That's
and had to
right.
deal with all those women in that building. He let his wife do her thing. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad he made the list as well. Tori said, it is me and my eldest are close, but she is a daddy's girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
My man.
bond between
Mm-hmm.
daughters and fathers, if it's done right, it's, I'm told, it's probably the greatest bond you could outside of being married. Probably the closest one.
I would say this for men that have daughters. Always remember that you probably gonna be the first man that your daughter fall in love
Whoa,
with.
whoa,
So
whoa,
you need
whoa.
that's gonna set the bar. That's gonna kind of
I
set the
love that
stage
though.
for how she maneuver in her
And if more
relationships with
men
men.
thought that way, it
Right.
will change what you allow her to see.
That's right. That's
Because
right.
you can also be the first man to break her heart.
Bam! You just hit it right there.
You feel
You
me?
just hit it
You
right
feel
there.
me? So, yes,
Mm-hmm.
sir. All right, let's move on to another one that I was surprised made this list. Mr. Lucius Lyon, played
What?
by the, yes, he made Terrence Howard, who is a great actor
Right.
from the show Empire. And I was surprised he made this list. He's number 6 on the list.
I'm
And I'm
shocked.
gonna read what they said. As you think about this, say you have to give it to a man for paving the way for a multi-million-dollar family business, even
Mm-hmm.
though he may have taken the road less traveled. I'm gonna stop there.
Mm.
If you think back, and I'm not gonna put words on, was there anything for you that you found that you could appreciate about him as a father?
And I can be perfectly transparent here. I've never really watched Empire like that,
Okay,
but
okay,
I am aware of his character. I'm aware of the storylines and all that, and I can appreciate him building generational wealth for his family. That's what I appreciate, and it may not have been the route that most of us will take, but at the end of the day, he got it. It's about building it and making it a family business. So you can't help but respect that, in my opinion.
absolutely. Well, I must confess, I was a huge Empire fan. Didn't miss an episode.
Yeah, I
Was there
know.
every week. At that time when it was on, I was in my master's program, so we would go to class and talk about it. And oh my god! And it spawned new music. So before there was Power and some of these other things, Empire set it set the tone. And for a long time, we thought, are they talking about P Diddy? Because the character
Right,
kind of
right,
mimicked P Diddy.
right, right.
That kind of thing.
Hmm.
Victoria says, exactly. Kenny and my daughter found a man just like her daddy, same work ethic and loves his family, respects my daughter. Can't ask for no
Already,
better than that.
no, it don't
No
get
better
no
than that.
better than that for
You know what
sure.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Hmm.
Victoria said, yes, I'm not surprised he made the list. He taught his kids work ethic and love of family. She's talking
Hmm.
now about Lucius Lyon.
Right.
And that for me is what I got from Lucius was the fact that not every man is perfect. See,
That's true.
sometimes when we think of father, the first image we want to think about is, the college educated, hard work that. But he did it a different way. He was a hustler.
Hmm.
He made me appreciate that at our core, whether we're criminals, hustlers, because even like right now, there's shows on now. What's the character the show where you got what was the real life criminal? I can't think
Oh,
his name.
Gotti,
Uh,
you ain't talking about Gotti, are you?
no, I thought you had said
Okay.
it for a second. You got Malcolm X and what was the Bumpy Johnson?
Oh, Bumpy Johnson. Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah.
And I forget the name of the show right now. My mind is slipping. But you have criminals sometimes. But here's what this shows me: whatever your bag is, the love for your children still doesn't change.
That's right.
You still want the best for them. You're still scratching and clawing and plotting to try to make the path for them a lot easier.
Right.
You're still trying to instill lessons in them, and in this case, his kids were kind of born with the silver spoon in their mouth to a certain extent. It was Luscious and Cookie. She did jail time for the sacrifice for the family. He built this business, like we said, generational wealth. So, to Miss Toria's point, he was not a perfect man by any stretch of the imagination. You know what I'm saying? And also, it introduced the realness of realizing you had a gay son. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Miss Toria, she on it. The Godfather of Harlem is the show I'm talking about. And so, even with these criminals, at its core, this man would kill for his family.
Right.
He would die for all the other things that character flaws he had. Cookie and him doing all the things, at its core, he would kill for his family.
Right.
And that I respect. And so sometimes when I look out and I see people, if you're just out here stealing to be stealing, I have no love for you. But if you rob, steal, and cheating to make it for your family,
make it happen for your family, you can't. I respect that too. You know, hey, you can say what you want, but you know, if a man is trying to make it happen by any means necessary, you can't do nothing but respect that.
I respect that, and that for me is what Luscious Line was all about. So, despite the flash, at its core, he was a father like the rest of us that want to see.
Right.
You know, kids make it. You know, the story. Bumpy's a good daddy as well. There's a gangster at heart,
and it's a bunch of fathers that's gangsters like that. I mean, it's a whole bunch of them.
I was gonna share this with you guys. The two parts that make up Lee Black. I have two brothers. They're both dead. Al and Paul. Paul was a straight thug, gangster, and killer. I'm keeping it real. When you see the movie New Jack City and the character that Wesley Snipes plays talking about the LA boys, Lennox Ave boys, that's a real gang. My brother was in that gang, was a leader in that gang, and was well respected in that gang. So when Mr. Paul Young walked them streets of Harlem, they knew who Small P was.
They knew what was
and
up.
He didn't play. And he didn't play. And when you're with his little brother and he taking you with him on his day when he getting his hair blowed out and he never wore the same clothes twice. My brother was a gangster.
Right.
I was mesmerized by his charm and the women, they just loved him.
How much older was he than? How much older was he than you?
God. 4 years.
4 years. Okay, gotcha.
And then you had Al, Mr. Sophistication. Al was the yellow pretty boy of the family. Okay. Al introduced me to libraries, the opera, museums, and Al would tell me, keep your head in them books. Don't be like these niggas here. Al hated Harlem. Al traveled abroad, and Al introduced me to the finer things. Wow. And those two things make up my personality. I brought that up because the guy sitting here with degrees behind him, I've done my ratchet shit too, y'all. I've stolen, I've robbed, I've done my shit. I've done what I had to do to get there. So I consider myself a sophisticated thug. Right. I truly do.
Right.
So don't get it twisted. Living right here in Atlanta and Buckhead, you fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck with you back.
And I believe that. I know that. I know you got that New Yorker in you. So I already
feel
know
me?
It goes down.
It ain't dead. It ain't dead.
Right. It goes down. Said,
you would be so shocked to hear my testimony. I was a true mama gangster. I love it, Miss Toria.
I hear you, Miss Toria.
And there you go. Sometimes when people look at who we have evolved to be and landed at, but they don't know the road that we travel, right, Miss Toria?
Yeah.
There's steps to this thing. There's steps to this thing. All right, let's go to number 5. Another surprise on the list, y'all. Robert Jebediah Freeman. In case that name don't ring a bell,
Jebediah Freeman. Who the fuck is that?
How about you know him best as Granddad? You know him best as Granddad. Think of Uncle Ruckus, the
Oh,
Boondocks.
really?
Yes,
Wow. That's
yes.
crazy.
Riley
Okay.
and Huey's granddad
Granddaddy,
made the list
the
as a
late,
favorite TV
wow.
dads.
That's,
Yes,
that's,
sir.
that's kind of cool though.
And that's
That's
why I
kind
want
of
to ask
cool.
you, now that you hear that name and think about the show, what could you
Wow.
appreciate about, because a lot of people don't realize that was his name.
Oh,
Robert,
really?
Robert Jebediah Freeman.
Now, and he was voiced by the late John
Yeah,
Witherspoon.
with us. Oh my God.
Right.
Pure
Yeah.
brilliance. Pure
Yes.
brilliance.
Yes. You know how I can relate to this, even though Grandpa was really raw and he kept it uncut, which I love. But I can take relate to that because of my own maternal grandfather, the late great Amos Henderson Sr., who was the first black elected county commissioner in the state of Texas in the mid 70s.
Hmm.
So I can speak from a grandson and grandfather relationship. My grandfather was a minister. He was a self-made man. He worked for him. He started working for himself in 1947. He ain't worked for nobody. He worked for himself from 1947 till the day he died.
Wow.
So he was a
Wow.
self-made man.
Wow.
And he kept it straight with no chaser too. I mean, he wasn't no cursor because he was a minister, but he was no holds barred. But he also
Love it.
had that playful side too.
Right.
He could be funny. So I can relate to him. The quality that I can see in Grandpa is that it reminds me of me and my having that relationship with my own grandfather.
I love it. I love it. I have no idea what it's like to have a father. I have no idea know what it's like to have a grandfather or grandmother. It's the truth.
Hmm.
We grew up calling our grandmother Aunt Tut. Long story, folks. It is what it is, and I loved her,
Hmm.
yeah. But we just didn't have a grandson grandmother
Right.
relationship. Okay, so here's what I appreciated about Granddad. Here was a guy that had his own house and a beautiful house. They didn't depict it on the show. It wasn't no rundown ass house. Granddad had a fly ass little house,
Granddad
and
had it. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. And here's what I like. This showed in this case, raising grandkids.
Hmm.
And when you think about the real world, how real that is out here right now,
It's real
how
in our
many
community.
times, oh my God, in the African American community, that sometimes our kids have kids and they're just not prepared to be parents. And how
Hmm.
many grandparents right now, as we speak on June 17th, that are the real parents?
Right.
Their
That's
their
facts.
biological role is grandparents, but they really are the parents.
That's
They're the
facts.
ones setting the rules, telling them when to get up, go to bed. I'm gonna share something with you guys. My baby mama called me last night.
Mm.
I had a lot going on, and he had a flood. I got no sleep last night. They got these big industrial blowers in here, and they had
Oh,
to be on
dang.
all night.
You got
Yeah,
flooded out last night,
I
bro?
got flooded yesterday during the day,
Wow.
interrupt my day, and so they end up bringing in. I got 4 humidifiers and a big machine that's designed to suck the moisture so no mold, and it's
Right.
all in the hallways. And the noise was all. They were on from 7:30 last night. I turned them off at 10:30 this morning just to get some sleep. People don't know what it takes for me to sit in front of you guys
Well,
to
man, I
to do this
didn't.
the
I
stuff I
didn't know
go
you
through.
went all through that. Yeah. Dang,
And
brother.
and so my mom, she calls me last night, and we had an hour and a half conversation about her raising one of her daughter's kids,
Mm.
and the shit she going through. Now I'm not gonna put all her business out there, but it deals with courts and prosecution and everything. And so she asked my advice, and
Hmm.
I told her, in this case, it's a decision between what's best for the children or what's best for your daughter. You're gonna have to choose one. She's
Right.
already made the choice. She's raising these grandkids. She's taking them to church. If you watch it and now, or when you do watch Short Round, I love you. I'll tell the people
Yeah.
what I told you last night. You're doing a phenomenal job with those children.
That's what's
And
up.
so here you have a grandmother, but we're going to get it back to dads. Robert Freeman was raising his grandkids,
Grandchildren, yeah,
but
that's
he's
right.
the father figure.
Right.
And here's the two other things I got to mention. They didn't hide the fact that granddad whooped ass.
You're right. You're right. He
See,
did.
we've
He
gotten
did.
away from corporal punishment. And I did a show on this, remember?
Right.
I
Right.
did a show on the
Yeah.
value of this.
Right.
Look, it's not for everybody. But I got to tell you, folks, gentle parenting is not the only way. Sometimes good old-fashioned ass thrashing can go a long way.
What
And Robert Freeman did it.
he did it, and it depends. I would say this: it depends on the child. Some children,
Right.
you gotta get that ass,
Absolutely.
because some
And
of them
some
just
you
ain't
don't.
gonna listen, and
And you're right.
some you just got to put the fear of God in them, and they gonna straighten up, and you ain't got to touch them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, you just got to know your child. So
welcome, Andre Davis.
what's
to the
up,
show.
Dre? Andre,
Absolutely.
how you doing?
So yes, Miss Toria, there's many grandparents raising these grandbabies now, and that is real in our community.
That's
and the
real
last
talk.
point I'm gonna mention about Mr. Robert Freeman, we can't overlook the fact that one of his friends is Uncle Ruckus, y'all.
Uncle Ruckus, yeah, that's goddamn.
And in case you don't know who Uncle Ruckus is, yo, look him up.
Right, I was gonna say look him up. You'll know.
But here's what I'm gonna say about it, because this is another thing I appreciate about him as a man and as a father. All of our friends aren't going to be saints.
That's true. That's true.
Kenny?
That's true.
I'm sure all of us men, we got at least one friend that's fucked up.
We do.
His views are fucked up.
I do. Yeah, I know.
That's what.
Right.
But
yeah,
you accept that person
for who they are,
whole and all.
Right.
Now, there's a line, that don't cross.
Right.
But this is what I appreciated, that he was still friends with Uncle Ruckus, who you just have to look Uncle Ruckus up and know what the hell I'm talking about.
Uncle Ruckus is comparable to Jason Whitlock, if you know who Jason Whitlock is.
Oh my, that is the modern day Uncle Ruckus.
And I'll leave it at that.
Yes, exactly. Do your own research. Mr.
Right.
Said, I'm sorry you're going through all that. I knew them storms was coming to Georgia. I pray things get better soon and no mold. Those industrial vans usually
for sure.
job. Noisy as hell. Yeah, but again, I'm sitting here, Miss Toria. I'm here with my brother from another. I'm drinking. I'm above ground.
I
got paid yesterday. I went shopping. Guess what, y'all? I found me a new farmers market. They had snow crab legs on sale for $6.49. I got me some snow crab legs and some blue crab. When I finish the show, it's going down.
I know that's right, brother.
Life is good. Life is
Already.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. We're going to move on to our next dad, because this list is crazy. I told you to hold your opinion because he was on the list.
I knew he was going to be on the list.
Mr. Fred G. Sanford.
And the G stands for...
If you don't know, you don't know. Fred G. Sanford is on this motherfucking list.
Yes,
I'm going to let you now speak on Fred G.
Man, if Sanford and Son is probably, if it's not my favorite, it's definitely top 2 of my favorites televisions all time. Fred G. Sanford. What can I say about Fred? Fred, regardless of, he was a junkyard, but he was a business owner. He was an entrepreneur. So, I think we got lost at, well, damn, Fred owned his own damn business. So he wasn't working for nobody. So that was definitely something that attracted to me. And also Fred, like George Jefferson, he told it like it T.I. is. He gave it to you straight with no chaser, and you was gonna have to respect his house. So that was that was one of the many qualities that I dug about Fred G. Sanford.
Man, I'm with you. As far as in the pantheon of characters ever created on TV, he's on Mount Rushmore.
He on Mount Rushmore. That's
on Mount Rushmore.
He damn sure on
Fred
Mount
G. Sanford. That man right there. Man. Who Lee Black, who I aspire to be and speak that real, that's who I want to be.
Yeah.
Fred G. Sanford has hit a stage in his life where this is who I am. And this was a time, a lot of people don't know, go back and look now. They said nigga on TV.
They sure did. And I just watched the episode when he went to court for them tickets.
Yeah, then he called and said, all these niggas up in here.
I
Niggas
just
up in
watched
here to
that
make a
episode a
call.
couple of days ago. Yep. They didn't edit it out of nothing.
They did not edit it out.
Nope.
They did not edit it out. And as crotchety and as cranky as he was, what you said, he was his own boss. He loved his son.
He did, even
And
though
he had a heart
it was
of
a
gold.
different type. It was a different type of love for Lamont. It was that old school love that I talked about.
That's where I was
going to
go.
Generation. Go ahead.
Oh, see, you just nailed it. That's the part I wanted to go to. That if you look at his age, and so that's my mother's age in that generation. I told you guys something personal about me. I don't remember my mother hugging me and saying I love you. They just didn't do it at that time in that generation,
Right.
especially coming from the South. And on that show, Fred was from St. Louis.
Right.
And my family's background is Mississippi. You knew you were loved, but they just didn't say it all the time, and you get no hugs and kisses. It was that tough love. You know what I'm saying? And again, his son living with him, still getting up, having to work. So he clearly had instilled in him the value of hard work to pay bills.
Right.
And so for that, I love him as a father, and he had a great heart. He had a great heart, sharp tongue, but he had a great heart, loyal friend. And even though him and Esther had their battles, he helped her whenever she needed it. You know,
that's true. And that's true, and she helped him too, especially when old boy came, when old Big Money Grip came and talking about he was Lamont daddy. Oh, it was on and popping.
She
after
said,
that,
she even said, "What did you say, nigga?" And they didn't cut this.
It was on and popping on that.
The writing, the brilliance of that
Right.
show, and the character he played is indelibly marked in history, and that's why he's number 4 on the list.
The only thing I
ahead.
would say about Fred that I didn't like, that he kind of he manipulated Lamont when it came to, because Lamont wanted to aspire to do some different things, but he would kind of make Lamont feel guilty. I built all this for you, and you're gonna leave me. You know this all. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so
that's the only flaw that.
Well, let me say this.
But that's real talk too. That's real life too. Because sometimes,
since you brought that up, and again, I ain't gonna take it all the way down the rabbit hole, but I want to show you just how real that is and the reasons behind it. And maybe we should do a show on this. There's a there's a such thing as a generational hold that they have on you. My mother from that generation. I was labeled a genius as a child. Everything I'm about to say to you guys is God's honest truth. Before there was a televised spelling bee, it's now on Sports Center. I won the national spelling bee twice. Wasn't televised.
That's awesome.
At 12 years old, I had on my own talk show. I traveled the country giving speeches with Mayor Koch, and I have pictures with Muhammad Ali. I have a signed speech with Muhammad Ali, probably the most valuable thing I own. I was labeled a genius. My IQ was tested. It was off the charts. I went to school 7 days a week. 7 days a week. Like, I was bused to schools with white people. I had a Saturday program, and I went to a Sunday school, St. Aloysius, because I was touted as a genius. They couldn't understand a 12-year-old kid as smart as I was.
Right.
My mother worked for a lady named Miss Rothenberg. She worked for 2 ladies. Miss Rothenberg owns Berghoff and Goodman's. If you don't know anything about Tiffany's and Berghoff and Goodman's in New York City, that's what I'm talking about. She owned Berghoff and Goodman's. The other lady, Miss Kubik, owned the Kansas City Royals. My mother worked for them.
Wow.
Both of these white, filthy rich ladies wanted to send me to whatever school I wanted to go to. They wanted to send me on a world trip to Africa and places like that. My mother would not let it happen. Every opportunity, I met Charles B. Rangel and politicians. Every step up the ladder, my mother cut it off at the knees.
Wow.
I can't sit here today and tell you why. So when you brought up about Fred kind of manipulating, but I can tell you this, and I'm going to end it here. How I end up moving down south is a long story. I went to Brooklyn Tech, one of the top 3 schools in the United States at the time. and there was a whole thing, and my sister was going to have to take on temporary custody. What happened between me and my mother's relationship, the only thing all these years I've come to have to make it make sense in my own head is, here I was, my mother's smart kid, and I don't know if some kind of way she just didn't want me to go far.
Mm,
I never fully understood that, and I grapple
mm,
with that a lot as a young person. And
right.
that's one of the reasons why I married young at 21. And that's why I'm not, y'all don't know a lot of people don't know my story, but I did all of these things.
Right.
I toured, uh, I had a scholarship, full scholarship to Harvard University, and I had chosen Howard University. I wanted
Oh
to go to
wow.
Howard
Yeah.
University
Oh
over
yeah.
Harvard, and I was all set to go. And a lot of people don't know I grew up in the same building with Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley lived in 1G. I lived in 3G. Teddy and Riley are now our best friends. His first group was Kids at Work, and I would write songs and I would tour with Teddy. I got sent down south back in New York. When you do bad or you get in trouble, they send you down south. How I got introduced to down south, me and Teddy Riley had a reputation in the Keith Sweat,
Mm-hmm.
Al B. Shaw, hung out with all these people.
Right.
My mother had discovered Jehovah's Witnesses and didn't want to be worldly, so I got sent down south,
Oh
and they did
wow.
an intervention, the family, on me to not choose a life of sin going into the entertainment business. Teddy Riley wanted me to travel with him to England. I would have been the writer on the album for Boy George. This is God Strike Me Down.
God dang, brother. Wow. That is, man, you need to write a doc, you need to write a memoir for sure. You got some stories to
I
tell,
lived through a
man.
lot of hurt. I went through a
Yeah.
good 10-year
Yeah.
period where me and my mother didn't speak.
Right.
I went through a
Right.
period where I wondered if I was adopted. There's
Right.
11 of us, and I'm the only one that has a different last name. There's a
Yeah.
lot going on here, folks. A lot has
Mm,
gone into me being who I am.
wow. Dang, brother, that's heavy. That's heavy, man. I
So
pray that you and your mom, man, can, I don't know, you know, how you want to approach it. I mean, I think
I
I
love
would
my
love
mother.
for you guys to talk that out just to kind of you
You know, this
get that
is
off of you. You know what I'm saying?
I've reached a
Uh,
point, Kenny, where that's going to go to her grave with her. There's questions I have about my father and things. My father
mm,
kidnapped me when I was younger. And that's kind of how I got a different last name. But
mm,
me and Sherry share the same father, and she don't. And that
mm.
hurt for a long time as a kid. Why? We're not going to go down there. So
No, no,
let me.
I got you. No, but
There's a
it's good.
lot. I only
But,
went there because of what you said about Fred, because I
right.
experienced that in my own life.
And that
That
triggered
level of
that triggered
manipulation,
that. No, that
you know.
triggered that. I got you.
And so I want to share some
Right.
comments. Victoria says Fred loved Lamont, and by him not having his mother, he had Esther. He certainly respected his home and he owned it. Loved his best friend Grady and his drunk brother-in-law. He lived with some Lena. He
You
loved him
know,
some
there's
Lena
some Lena
Horne.
Horn. You're
Yes, he
right.
did.
Yeah, he did.
Victoria says, "I will tell you why. She was afraid you may have turned out like Emmett."
Oh,
Ooh,
that is definitely I
oh.
didn't even think about that.
Miss Tori, I didn't think about that either, because my
Wow.
mom grew up in the South. You know what? I
I'm
never to
coming
this
back,
day.
Black. Keep on talking. I'll
Yes,
be
sir.
right back.
You know, Miss Tori, I never to this moment thought about that aspect. She grew up in Meridian, Mississippi, and escaped all of that. And the idea that her son was going to the South probably terrified the shit out of her, especially with my smart ass and not really having grown up in that type of South. She probably had a deep fear of what would happen. I man, this show is real. This show is real. Thank you, Miss Tori, because that is wow. I never thought about that, but I never had this conversation with my mom. She'll be 88 years old in August, God willing. Yeah, she's still in relative good health. And it's just, yeah, there's a lot that goes into making up who we are. Miss Tori said you should write a book for real. I would be in line to buy it. Thank you so much. That's right. I remember you said yeah. My family is from Meridian, Mississippi, so lots of history. But being that I didn't experience that, I love the South. My family doesn't. So anyway, back to Fred G. Sanford. Maybe that's why I consider his character so iconic and it resonates with me, because I see my mother and Fred G. Sanford. Her quick wit, her mouth. I know she loved me and she loved all of us as kids, but we grew up getting it right between the eyes every day, no let up. Fred G. Sanford, my mom is the female version of that. So absolutely. So, all right. While we wait on Brother Kenny to come back, perfect timing. We going
All
over a
right.
little bit, but hey, we got time.
All
Let's bring
right.
on number 3 on the list, and this one was another surprise one on that made the list. Kunta Kinte.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this list went deep. Now, in case there's a whole generations that don't know who Kunta Kinte even is.
That's true.
So this is an educational moment on Real Talk. Roots, back in our day, folks, we old folks.
Mm-hmm.
Roots was what y'all call must-see TV.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had to watch it. We were literally told in school, go home and you have to watch this. And this was a time, young people out there, when there wasn't a TV in every room. And in most cases, there was one TV in the house and you watched Roots as a family. That's how it was done in my home. And the impact of watching this show, and when it came on at that time, telling our story from Alex Haley about slavery, and Kunta Kinte, keeping it in our theme, Brother Kenny, what can you appreciate about Kunta Kinte making a list about one of the best fathers?
Man, I could kind of I can kind of get emotional even thinking about that, to be honest with you, because if you haven't watched Roots, shame on you. If you don't know who Kunta Kinte is, anyway, that's a whole nother topic for a
You
different
know,
day. But you know, the quality when you talk about fathers and you talk about the at that time when black men were being stripped of their dignity,
whew,
they were being stripped of from their families, they were being picked at and looked at as meat. They were being used as sperm donors to produce other babies. But for Kunta Kinte in particular, just his strength as a man. That's as a man. I mean, I mean that's pretty much it. His strength as a man.
I'm going right where you going, brother. I'm going right
You
where you
know.
going. Miss Torres said
So
Roots was a show you were glued to, the one TV, everybody watched it. Absolutely. She said, I can see it for the first time he was in. So hard to be a father when they were snatching your babies. And that's where I want to go. When I think of that name and I think of that character, and what it says to me is the sacrifice that a fathers have to make
yep.
sometimes. For my younger viewers who can watch this show, Denzel Washington got his first Oscar for Glory.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know the famous scene where he was getting beat on his back and the
Mm-hmm.
one tear dropped down his eye?
Mm-hmm.
LeVar Burton did it first, y'all.
Sure did.
If you don't know, I'm giving you some education here. Kunta Kinte, the famous scene where he got beat and they say your name is Toby. If that don't do something to you, the hairs are
Right.
standing up on my arm, you ain't human.
I just got chills just thinking about that scene because I can replay it in my mind like
You
it's like
feel me?
yesterday.
You
Yeah.
feel me?
Mm-hmm.
If we tend to forget what it took to get to 2023, black men in particular, it took Kunta Kinte, the sacrifice he made for his family to get his foot cut off, the
Mm-hmm.
sacrifices he made. And what that says to me is the ultimate sacrifice sometimes fathers have to make
Mm-hmm.
for their children. And it ain't always pretty.
And you know the symbolic thing about that, Kunta lost a foot. You know, black men and black fathers today, we might not be losing a foot, our physical feet, but we losing some to make sacrifices.
Man, that's the deep one of the deep moments of the show. So we still losing our foot. It's not literally getting lopped off, but
Right.
figuratively,
Right. That's right. And it goes back to, and I'm not. We ain't trying to get too deep. It go
right.
this took me to George Floyd. You know,
Yes, sir.
the knee on the neck.
Yes, sir.
That's what black men and black
Yes,
fathers are
sir.
dealing with
Yes, sir.
today.
Yes, sir.
Comparable to Kunta losing,
And I'm
getting his
glad you
foot
so you
chopped
I'm
off.
glad you said that. So his death wasn't in vain because
Right.
it spawned a movement and here's the people what I gotta look at. You know what? It made white people see us for the first time for some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because until that moment, we were always getting killed and choked and stomped out by the police. We talked about that earlier, our relationship and black men with the police force. But to see it in live, living color, as this was recorded, and the
Right.
minutes ticked away, and this man died with a knee on his neck. For some people, it was the first time that they saw black men for real.
Mm-hmm.
Because for some, they think we are all thugs and drug dealers and don't care about our families, and
Mm-hmm.
as if we were spawned out of space or something. And so, to your point, George Floyd, he's the modern day Kunta Kinte, and he
Mm-hmm.
spawned a movement. Because if you watch Roots, and like Kenny said, if you haven't seen Roots, then you don't know your own history.
Right.
And
Right.
I know what nowadays with the short attention span,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, but you're missing out on a valuable piece of who you are and what makes us unique, especially as black men. And so for that father to make that sacrifice to keep his family together, as Miss Toria said, because this was a time when they took
Mm-hmm.
your babies.
They took them.
They
Yep.
took them.
Yep.
So Kunta Kinte,
Wow,
surprising.
that's surprising, but that's definitely he definitely should be on the list, though. I'm not saying he shouldn't be.
When I saw this list, I was like, I got to
Mhm.
talk about this.
Yeah, right,
Stories that so many black fathers are losing their babies to cops.
yeah,
Whoa.
right,
So again, it might not be the exact same circumstances, but you're right. A father or a mother is not supposed to outlive their children, folks. That's not the natural order of things. And yes, some of us are.
right.
So again,
I got a fun fact about Roots. I'm gonna change it.
sure.
Far as I know y'all. If you watch it, I know Black has Henning, Tennessee is where is kind of where Alex Haley, whatever.
Right.
My pops is from Henning, Tennessee.
Wow.
My paternal grandparents are from Henning, Tennessee. So there could be some connection to me being
Wow.
related
Wow. Wow.
to Alex Haley. Don't know that for sure,
Right.
but my paternal grandparents, the Reeds, they are from Henning, Tennessee.
I would not be surprised if
So
you ever did that. What's that thing where you know how you
yeah,
go get yeah, you
ancestry,
know what I'm saying?
whatever. I definitely want to do that just to see because we could be related some kind of way.
Absolutely. Folks, we're down to the last two on the list. Guess who made number 2?
Oh, I want to know who number one is. I know
Well,
the
this
only one.
hopefully this will tell you because I'm already showing number 2. Number 2 is Philip Banks.
Oh, I forgot about Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil,
Oh, yeah.
Uncle
Okay.
Phil.
Well,
Yes.
I already know who number one
If
is.
you
Then
ought to know just by virtue of that, don't say
yeah.
it.
No, I
Before
ain't
I
gonna
show
say
it,
it.
I
No,
want to get you to say it
I ain't gonna
before when
say
I
it.
get to the next one.
Yeah.
But yes, but the story real quick says history repeats itself sadly, different times, but same.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
But Uncle Phil,
I totally
what
forgot
can we
about
say
Uncle
about
Phil.
Uncle Phil? If
Wow.
you don't know, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air himself, and once again, an iconic uh, 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 theme song,
Mm-hmm.
once
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia, born and raised. And in this song, he moved to Beverly Hills and end up living with his Uncle Phil. What can you say about Uncle Phil as a father?
Man, brother. Woo. I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills thinking about the one, and I get to that scene real quick. But just
I
as
know what you're
part of
talking
this,
about.
you
I know the
already know
scene
what
you're
I'm talking
talking
about.
about,
You
and I
already know what
cry every time I
yeah,
see it.
and I do too because I felt Will did a hell of a job in that scene.
Tell it.
But
Tell it.
before I get to that,
Right.
just to talk about Uncle Phil qualities. This man was a judge. He was a stand-up man. Uh, he, I mean, he loved his family, but the biggest quality is that even going back to what we were talking about, you as well as you, Black, you were talking about your experience where another man came in and was your father figure. He became a father figure to his wife's nephew and brought him in, even though it was a little rocky at the beginning. He hung in there and he believed in him and he treated him as his own. But you know, the Uncle Phil scene with Will when Will's dad
Woo.
uh
Played by Ben
played
Vereen
played
from
by Ben
Roots.
Vereen from
From
Roots.
Roots.
Chicken George. If you ain't watched Roots, Ben Vereen was Chicken. See, I'm telling y'all the movie. Well, y'all better go watch it. But that scene for me and Black, you probably can relate.
I cried.
It touched me in so many different ways because I understood Will. I understood because that's how I felt about my own pops. Why don't you love me? Why don't you want to have anything to do with me?
Woo.
And then Uncle Phil filled the gap. He was there for Will. He could have been actually Uncle Phil could have been selfish and said, wait a minute, what about me? What if I done came in and did all this and you ain't even trying to what about me? But Uncle Phil didn't do that. He did not do that. He said, hey, I don't know, but I got you. I love you. I got you. So I could go on and on about that scene, but it means so much to me because it hit home for me. I can tell you that for sure.
That, what you just described, and I ain't even going to add too much more to it, it is one of the most definitive moments of fatherhood that was captured in those few moments
Yep.
for a Black
Exactly.
man.
Yep.
Because once again, many of us have grew up raised by uncles, aunts, this is and that, and then we get to meet our father later on in life. Where you been all this time? And I love what you said, Brother Kenny. Uncle Phil could have easily took the stance that you eating my food, living in my house, and I've been raising you. Soon as this guy pops up, now you ready to go with him.
Right.
But do you know what
Exactly.
it took inside of him to be able to step aside and and even when he talked to his father and said, "Look, don't you hurt him again." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I done got him here, and if you're gonna take him, it better be right. And in those few moments, to me, that's the finest acting moment Will Smith has ever had. But what it said for
I
fatherhood,
agree. I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I
That's his
cry every
finest
time I
moment to
see it.
me.
He it was the moment for me that the rapper became a real
Okay,
actor.
that is. That was definitely that was the game changer for him as an actor. I agree.
That was the
I
moment.
totally agree.
If up to that moment, he was silly and funny, and of course we know he could rap. But in that moment, the Hollywood exec said, "Whoa, wait a minute. This guy
Mm-hmm.
probably can really act." It was that moment, and like you said, he says, Why won't you love? Why doesn't he love me? What's wrong with me?" And again, I lived that, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to overcome that. So it to this moment, I still don't have the answer
Mm-hmm.
to this moment. Why would I'm my father's firstborn? I'm named after him.
I didn't know that. Mm.
And
Wow.
why didn't you come look for me? You know
Right.
where I was? I
Right.
had to work my way through that pain and hurt. And once again, now you understand, if you haven't watched the early part of the show, why Harold Clark Sr. means so much to me.
Yeah.
Because he was a man that caught me when I was older and taught me how to actually be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so Uncle Phil, he's everybody's uncle.
He's everybody's uncle, and this goes back to even the what we were talking about earlier. We need the village. We need the village, man, for our young Black men and young Black women too. Well, we just specifically for us
Absolutely.
because Uncle Phil was that village. He was that male person in Will's life that totally changed his life around.
Changed his
He had
life.
his mama sent him out there because he was getting too much crap in Philly. Like, yo, you go out there and Uncle Phil had to sign off on that. We didn't even talk about that. Uncle Phil could have told his wife, like, you know what? Nah, I ain't trying to. No, we got our three. Why I need to come? We need to bring another one in here. So you got to respect a man that will raise
Gotta,
someone that ain't
you
even his
feel me?
own. So
And a trouble,
yeah,
and he was a trouble kid at first, like you said, the bumps and
right. He was a
bruises.
trouble kid. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
The
Yep.
story said Uncle Phil, great father, husband, friend, successful black family. I have
Mm-hmm.
not yet watched the new version of it on Peacock. I keep saying I'm going to. I,
I heard mixed reviews on it. I
me
hadn't
too.
watched it. I heard
Me
some
too.
people say they like it. Some people like,
Me too.
but
Yeah.
anyway.
And I
Yeah.
just haven't got around to it. But story said, you're right. He became an actor. That scene did it. It changed
Right.
his career.
It
That was the
it
moment right
did.
there. So Uncle, just like
Mhm.
uh, Cliff Huxtable is the father for all of us, James Avery, Uncle Phil, he's the uncle for everybody. He
Yeah,
is. Which leads us
that's
to
right.
the number
You're right.
one person. Who's number one, Brother Kenny? Who's
You
number one?
already, I know, keeping your head above water, making a way when you can, temporary
Temporary
layoffs, good
layoffs.
times. James Evans Sr.
What?
I already
What?
knew.
What? What? He is number one on the
Oh
definitive list
wow,
of the greatest TV fathers ever, folks.
that's crazy. I don't really
Take
have
it
a
away,
problem with that though. I don't.
man.
Let me ask you this: do you have a problem with that? Do you have a problem with him
None.
being number
And
one?
I and I
Okay,
and I'm gonna tell you why. For me, I don't have
okay,
a problem with him hitting number one. I
okay.
already talked a little bit about it on the
Hmm.
front end of this show, why Esther Rolle wanted
Right,
to depict it that way. But
right.
out as a reporter, you did a story on Black Hollywood Report about John
Hmm.
Amos. Bring us up to
Hmm.
speed, brother.
Man, if y'all don't know, John Amos is dealing with, it's some issues going on. There's a whole bunch of stories out here. Allegedly, his daughter, Shannon Amos, is saying that he has been abused and has been a victim of elderly abuse and some financial situations people have taken from him, this and that. Well, John Amos, and she started a GoFundMe account.
Mhm.
John Amos came out and refuted that and said he didn't need a GoFundMe. Yes, he's had some health issues. He had to go in the hospital to drain some water or something from his legs or whatever he had to have done. But he said he's fine. Well, now another bombshell report then dropped that allegedly that his son KC Amos is reports are that he's been taking advantage of his dad because that's who they rock. Because I followed him on TikTok. Actually, I followed Casey Amos and his pops. And now there are reports that supposedly that Casey Amos has been doing some undercover dirty stuff to him. And but John Amos is adamant that it's his daughter
Right,
she ain't not telling the truth. She the
right.
one. So man, it's just all this madness and
Yeah,
just like I
yeah.
just want to know. Me personally as a fan, I just want to make sure that he's okay, that he hasn't been harmed. As I think most of us are a fan of James Evans Sr. That is our dad,
That's our
so to
dad.
speak.
That's our dad. That's our.
That's our
And,
dad.
and before you get to the character, let me say this
Okay.
about him as the actor and why this story means so much to me. I have an 87-year-old mom, and here's something we don't think about if our parents get to be that age. Fear is real in terms
Hmm.
of how they're treated.
Right.
And this the
That's
reason
true.
why my sister Sherry lives with my mother. Before Sherry was living with my mother would frequently call her and whisper in the phone a fear in her own home of how she say something because of home attendants. So people don't know how many sleepless nights we as a family had because even when winter would come, you can't sleep wondering is your mother cold.
Right.
She lived in the projects. Are they sending up
Right.
enough heat? And then I would call her, and she would have the oven on in the daytime, but she would have to turn it off when the health attendant is leaving because she's elderly and for fear of leaving it on and inhaling the fumes. So you're laying there in your warm bed thinking, with each passing hour for your mother is getting colder and colder and colder and colder, and that she's not going to get any heat until that morning. I can't tell you folks how horrifying and horrific it is to worry about your mother in that way.
Right.
So we as a family had to get together because my mother was living in fear. So when I think about John Amos, this is sad for me to say this. Sometimes, folks, parents get mistreated by their own children.
That's
I'm
true.
proud to sit here and tell you
That's true.
about my family. We are some motherfuckers.
That's true.
We
Especially
some
when there's money involved. Oh my
man.
God.
We
Yeah.
are some motherfuckers. And I'm
Right.
talking about my family here. But
Right.
here's
Right. Right. I
when
know
I
what you're
tell you
talking
I'm
about.
proud of my family from the top to the bottom. We came together and we had a duo meeting every single week, every other week rather. And we put our personal differences aside. We had arguments with each other. We don't like this. We put all that shit to the side and we made decisions in the best interest of my mama. And I
Exactly.
can sit here and tell you, I sleep so well at night knowing that Sherry and her husband Tony
They taking
live in that house, and my mother is the meanest motherfucker on this planet. My mother would make Jesus Christ say, "Fuck this shit."
Yeah, you
And
crazy,
Sherry
bro.
and Tony lives in that house, and I have not an iota of doubt. My mother eats better than me. My mother is being treated like a queen, despite all the shit Sherry go through. My mother gets her food brought to her literally on a silver platter, literally.
That's awesome. And that's how it
Literally.
should. That's how it
And
should be.
that's what we're proud of that. And so
Yeah.
all of us as brothers and sisters, we take turns going to visit our mother. And when you get there, we get cussed, we get fussed, and we get pushed off. But as long as she's living, we're gonna keep going back. I'm proud of my family. So when I think of what John Amos is going through, I'm with you. I just want to know that he's all right.
Right, and I want to, and Toria, she be on a lot of this, and there is an investigation. You right? Actually, that's wrong, Miss Tori. I don't have 60,000 followers. I just posted a video that got 60,000 views. I would love to have 60,000 followers. Hopefully, that's going to happen. But
One
no,
day, my brother.
yeah, it's coming. But no, it was 60,000 views on a unfortunate video. But I'm looking. Hopefully, I can get to 60,000 followers. But to follow up, Miss Tori, she's been following this John Amos deal, and she has a lot of information. And just to kind of follow up. There's an investigation in Colorado because that's his residence. That's where John Amos lives. They are investigating a elderly abuse case. Now there's so many different stories out here. I can't say one is the other. You just got to wait till the investigation get done.
Right.
You
Right.
know, Toria's saying that the daughter is right and this and that. I can't say that until the investigation is done
Right. Right.
because the daughter she could be not telling the whole story
Right.
too. So
Right.
until the investigation is complete, right now, all we know is he is in a safe place. We do know that, but all the other particulars, it's a bunch of he say, she say. So until the investigation get through all
Right.
that, we really don't
We'll
know.
be tracking.
We be
And Brother
tracking that,
Kenny will be tracking that for the Black Hollywood Report.
no
And
doubt.
so let's get back to the character himself and
Yes, sir.
honor Mr. John Amos
Yes,
as
sir.
the number one best father in the
Mhm.
history of television. For you, what was it about James Evans Sr.?
Let me say one. Okay, for the first thing about him, he reminded me so much of one of my uncles, my mother's brothers. Peace be upon him, my uncle Amos Henderson Jr. He's gone on too. He reminded me so much of him. I don't know why, but they had the same type of demeanor for some
Okay.
reason. But what his quality was, man, he would do anything necessary to make it happen for his family. Whatever job he had to take, if he had to wash cars at the car wash, if he had to be a dishwasher, if he had to do this, anytime he got knocked down, yeah, he'd be pissed off, but he'll find a way to make it happen for his family. And he wasn't and wasn't nobody gonna come. He's a protector. I am the lion in here. Ain't nobody coming in here, and you ain't coming in here effing with my family. So
Partner,
it's
you
going
stealing all
down.
my thunder. You stealing all my thunder, partner.
So I mean, he was a man's man. Even when he got knocked down, even the menial jobs he had to take, at the end of the day, he still carried himself as a man's man. And you can't do nothing but
you
respect
killing my
that.
thunder, but I'm loving it. I'm getting the hair again. Man, this show, I done had these moments this whole show. Kenny, you killing it because when I think of a man, when I think of when Martin Luther King Jr. came to Memphis, Tennessee, and he ended up getting assassinated. I don't know if you go back and remember the slogan that was happening with the sanitation strike, which is why he was in Memphis at the time.
Right,
Do you
right.
remember the signs they was holding? It says, "I am a man."
Yep, I do remember that. Just from the pictures, I remember seeing that.
When I
Yeah.
think of the definitive of a black man, it's James Evans Jr. That's a black man. That's a real black man.
Mm-hmm.
Proud, fearless,
Mm-hmm.
loyal to his
Mm-hmm.
family,
Mm-hmm.
you know, carried himself with honor and pride,
Man of
despite
character.
being in the ghetto.
Yep.
And the reason why, for me, he's number one, and I can't disagree with it, I grew up in the ghetto. But here's something my mother incorporated and inculcated in all of us. Your surroundings don't define you.
Right.
And so when I think of James Evans, they got knocked down every fucking episode.
They got,
One
and
of my
I got sick of that too. But
oh,
yeah,
I
they
was about
did.
to say one of my best friends hates that show because he said
One of mine too. One of mine too.
done
Yep.
for that very reason. He said,
Yep.
"Damn, they don't never succeed." and we had arguments about this,
Right.
like, but
Right.
you missing the point, dude. But
Right.
he hates that show for that reason
Right.
that
Yep.
they can't never. It's like Gilligan trying to get off the island.
Get
like
off the
this.
island. Right. Right.
But
Yep.
here's the point that to my boy that you missed. They showed how life is real. They was trapped in the projects, trapped in an. See, here's what. See, I could go here, y'all. The reason they created the ghetto is to hold us down.
Right.
But I ain't gonna go all the way there. But here's why James Evans, when I say he's a man, that didn't define the Evans family because of James. He wouldn't let his kids join the gang. He raised a daughter that had a body like a motherfucker, but
and
she wasn't
still
no hoe.
got a body.
Status,
but anyway, yeah,
but
man.
she wasn't no hoe.
That's right.
And she couldn't dress like a hoe.
Right.
It showed the value of having a father figure living in the home,
In the house,
regardless of the circumstances. So for you, I started this show talking about fathers. So for you dads, for you Nick Cannons, making babies, it matters. It matters. A woman cannot raise a man. Some do a great job. My mother took me to as far as she could take me, and I'm grateful for Harold Clark Sr. But what this show showed is, despite the circumstances, for me, they were poor, they struggled, their clothes was always clean.
Yep.
They carried themselves with pride. They valued education. They ate a hot meal. They were loyal friends. He was a loyal, faithful husband, and he was a disciplinarian. Everything I think about when I think about being a father, that man represented.
He represented everything. He represented all that. Right.
And he had the respect of his entire family.
Right.
And here's another little fun fact about John Amos, the actor playing the character James Evans Sr. Do you know why he got killed off the show?
Yeah, because he got tired of the buffoonery. He was like they
people don't know.
They wanted
people
JJ,
don't know.
They wanted the JJ to keep doing that buffoonery,
People don't know that.
and all that stuff. And he's like, you know what? No, I'm not with that. No, we not.
Literally, he was a serious actor, Broadway trained.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what the show was supposed to be about, the introduction of Jimmy Walker's character JJ, they wrote into each episode the tagline Dynamite, and it started to become more about JJ. So Esther Rolle and John Amos in particular, John Amos as an actor, as a black man, he refused to continue if it wasn't going to be about a black father instilling the value in his children. And he didn't like the buffoonery of the character, because what he said was, you now have a 17, 18-year-old son who doesn't work and lay around and still talking that bullshit. And he wouldn't do it. And he stood on his principles.
And
so even the man, even the man playing the character has the values that I treasure.
Yep.
So I have no problem with James Evans Sr. being number one on this list
At
because
all.
that is when I think about if you want to, if aliens come to this motherfucking planet and they have in a dictionary black man,
Black
show
father,
me
a black
James
man
Evans.
as a black father, I would want him to be number one. Yeah, I totally agree because I think he's probably he's probably the most relatable. I'll be honest with you. This is no disrespect to all the black fathers that we talked about on TV. I think James Evans is the most relatable to most of us in our communities. Real talk. Because I know a lot of the fathers that, when I was in high school, a lot of my cats, they dads, they were hardworking dudes, worked the railroad or they was doing this. It wasn't none of them weren't no doctors and law, and
No,
that's dope too.
no,
I'm not saying
right,
that, and that's great, but
right.
but James Evans Sr. is probably the one that's the most relatable out of all the fathers.
That's real. That's
And that's
real.
just real talk.
Victoria says he went where the work was to take care of his
Mm-hmm.
family. That's
Mm-hmm.
the role. Best scene when James died. The famous scene. Damn,
Yeah.
damn,
Yeah.
damn.
And then well, we ain't even talked about him as a dad. On Coming to America, Cleo McDowell.
Man,
That
that's what I say. Man,
day.
the actor is. I'm always gonna love me some John Amos
Right.
because of what he's always stood for. His portrayal of his characters is real. They're relatable. Tori says, plus they showed us the first crooked politicians. After they
Yeah,
depicted
yeah,
what
yeah,
you
they did.
really saw and see in the ghetto
That's true. The
in so
aldermans
many
and all
ways.
that, right?
Ned the Wino, it was real. Like you said, Brother Kenny, it's the most relatable. She said, this
Mhm.
was absolutely a great show and such a fitting topic for the Father's Day weekend. You both had great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Thank you
Miss
so
Toy.
much.
You
I
know I
appreciate it.
love you to death. You be making me feel you be making me feel like I'm just like the man as much as you be complimenting me. I love you to death,
That's why
Miss
I call her
Toy.
the super fan.
Love
Love you,
you to
Miss
death.
Toria. Thank you.
Now,
And
there's one father that wasn't on the list that I'm kind of shocked.
who?
My wife and kids, Michael Kyle,
He
Damon
made another.
Wayans.
So just so you know, there's some there's another list, and so some honorable mentions. James St.
Okay,
Patrick from
okay,
Ghosts.
okay.
Uh, Eli on Pope, played by Joe Morton.
Oh, okay.
Frank
Gotcha.
Mitchell, member
Yeah,
Moesha.
yeah, Moesha. Yeah, but he had some dirty laundry though.
Yes,
But
he
that's
did.
but that's real though.
It's real. It's
That's
real.
real. But he had some
What
dirty laundry.
you mentioned John Witherspoon earlier. John Pops
Genre,
Williams,
right, the Wayans
honorable
brothers.
mention.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I'm scrolling through. Joe Carmichael, played by David Allen Greer.
Oh, okay, because I ain't really watched that much, but
I
okay.
ain't watched that either. Paul Patterson Sr., played by Richard Roundtree. The show with Gabby Union on Being Mary Jane.
Yes.
Who else? Honorable mention. Jesse L. Martin, who played Joe West on Flash. I used to
Okay.
watch that show. This one, I'm surprised didn't crack the top 10. What about Andre Johnson, Anthony Anderson, Dre in Blackish?
Yeah, and Blackish.
He won a
Yes.
shitload of Emmys, but he did not crack the
Yeah.
top 10.
I would have thought he would have cracked the
You
top
know?
10. Okay.
Jefferson Pierce, played by Chris Williams on the show Black Lightning. A lot of
Yeah,
people
I'm
may
not
not know
familiar
about
with.
that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
Kofi, who plays Ralph Andrew Bordelon on Queen Sugar. I never watched the show.
Yeah, I ain't
What
watched
about
that like that.
Flex? Remember Flex?
Yeah, yeah, he was a single
101.
dad. 101. Yeah,
Raising a
okay.
daughter, that
Raising the
father-daughter
daughter.
relationship.
Yep, right.
What about Tim Reed, who played Ray Campbell on
Yes,
Sister?
sister. Yeah.
And this one, I'm surprised. Bernie Mac didn't make the list.
Oh, yes. On the Bernie Mac show.
From the show Bernie. And I hate it because he was a great father figure.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He was that uncle that you would me personally. He was that uncle I would love to probably live with because he's gonna be keeping it funky,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then like you said, Damon Wayans playing Michael
Kyle.
Kyle.
My wife and kids. Yeah.
What about D.L. Hewley?
Oh yeah, the Hugleys. I forgot.
He didn't make the list either.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And here's another one. What about Terry Crews playing Julius?
I thought about that. I was watching Everybody Hates Chris earlier, some reruns. I thought about him too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sterling K. Brown, who played Randall Pearson on This Is Us.
Okay. I remember,
but even on this list, Philip Banks is the number one. So on some of the lists, it was either Philip or James Evans Sr.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't either one. I mean, I think that they all brought something different. They all came
Absolutely.
different qualities. But again, I think when you think about TV dads, I think about first and foremost it's going to be James Evans Sr. from Good
Me
Times.
too. Me too.
So
So shout out to John Amos. We love you as an actor. We're praying for
yeah,
you
you're praying
as
for
a
you,
human
man.
being.
I hope this.
Uh,
I hope this situation, whatever happens, I'm not feeling really good about it because obviously there's something going on there. It
right.
is. I do know he's 83, so it's probably some things that he probably don't know that because of age. With age, sometimes your memory and things
Absolutely.
you
And
don't
money.
know, and money.
And you said it.
Right,
Money. When you
right.
introduced to where there's money at stake,
Right. And his
you
son,
know,
Casey Amos, is real close to him. So that's the one I would be keeping my eye on. Casey Amos, because he's the one that's really close to him.
Greenleaf Dad. See, I never watched that show, Miss
Yeah.
Toria. So
Greenleaf
there's
is
so many
good. Yeah.
shows I
Mhm.
never even seen it. So what I'm loving about even you throwing these people in here, it goes back to where we started. Representation is so
Matters.
important.
Yeah.
And I hope we can continue the trend because we ain't going nowhere, folks. Even though we only make up 12% of the population, we ain't going nowhere, but we still need to see ourselves on TV. And I'm gonna say this in honor of LGBTQ community. I love you guys. I truly do. I mean this from the
I do
bottom of my
too.
heart.
I do too.
But I still want representation. I don't want your cause to overshadow the need for heterosexual men. So these terms that they have out there for us as cis men and toxic masculinity, if we're gonna make room for you, make room for us too. I'm
I
just gonna
totally
say
agree
it
with
that
that.
way
I totally
because I
agree with
think
that.
there's still a need to showcase not every man is believes that. You're entitled to live your life however you want to. But if you're preaching tolerance, show some as well.
I totally agree with that, and I'm
And
with you,
so
and I'm glad you worded that the way, and that's how I would word it too. Because again, I think a lot of times heterosexual men, if we feel a certain type of way about that LGBTQ community, and they come it comes across they make
immediately,
it feel like that we're anti, and that's not where we're coming from. We
promise
just
you
want
not.
we just want our voice to be heard, just like y'all want your voice to be heard.
And
And
that's all. That's what it really
yeah,
is.
live
That's
your
what it really
life.
is.
Yeah, live your
Great
life. We
point,
ain't
Miss
tripping on
Toria.
that.
If Tyler Perry really is taking the helm at BET,
Yeah,
I do hope he fill it with content
yeah,
showcasing
right. And
all
right now, that's not been confirmed.
right, right.
That's
That's why
that's
I
just
said
rumors
if.
at this point. We
That's
don't
why I
know if
said
that's
if.
confirmed. Right.
And whoever takes the helm, this going back to the beginning of the reason for this show, there is a need like never before to continue to highlight and showcase Black fathers. It's important. We're
I agree.
at a critical stage where the family is under attack from so many different forces, and whether you agree or disagree with my view of the father being the head of the family, that's okay. We can debate that. But the importance of having and showcasing a Black man as a good father, I hope you don't debate that.
Right. Yeah, and
You
that and
know,
that shouldn't be up for a debate.
right.
That should just be okay. We get it. Miss Toria said it was confirmed yesterday.
That,
Okay,
so if
all
that's
right.
the
If that's
case,
confirmed yesterday, then I'm all for it. I hope Tyler, and I know it's going to be some quality programming.
that's what
Because
I
you
love
know
what he's about. That's what I
yeah,
hope.
and
So
we
yeah,
get rid of
shout out
this.
to
Yeah,
HBCUs.
ratchet.
Let's
Get rid of
keep
this
making
ratchet.
strong
All
Black
that stuff.
men. For brothers
Right.
like Kenny and myself, for you younger generation, we're walking encyclopedias, believe it or not. We have a wealth of information that we would welcome to share with you guys about where you come from, where you're going, and how to get there and avoid some of the pitfalls that we took. We actually love you. We don't
We
always
do,
agree with you,
but we
young
love
men
you.
out there. I'm talking to my young
Mhm.
fathers right now,
Right.
but we with you in the struggle too.
We love
We
you. We
made some mistakes and we want to see you not make those same mistakes. And
exactly.
so whatever you're doing, if you're a father on this Father's Day, I want to honor you, shout out to you, and give you your flowers here. And all you can do every day, Black fathers, is try to get up and be a better man today than you was yesterday.
Exactly. Right. And I want to say this too. My young brothers that's fathers and all the older brothers. I love. We got to be buying. We got to be there for each other. We got to create a support system for one another. But I also want to throw some shade too. I'm gonna be shady right now. I normally leave that to Black. I do not want to see now mother on your timelines on your whatever.
I know where you're going.
You
I
already
know
know
where
where
you're
I'm
going.
going.
I know where you're going.
I don't want to see now post about you, the daddy and the mama. The Happy Father's Day to you. I don't want to see now post about that. Don't do that. That's being disrespectful to Black fathers. I don't care. I don't know what your situation is. Please do not
If
hijack
you
Father's
know
Day
what, if you ain't
tomorrow.
got nothing nice to say, don't say
Don't
nothing.
say nothing at all. Please don't do that. Cause single men that raise their kids, they don't hijack Mother's Day. They don't say they the mother and the father. So I don't want to see now woman post something about they the father, I'm the father too, that yada yada yada. Don't do it.
Thank you, my brother. This is
Okay.
why I love this man right here. This is my brother from another. You know what? We went over a little bit, but I love it. I cherish an opportunity to talk with Brother Kenny. Miss Toria, you are everything.
You are.
My
We love you.
to TFG.
We
To
love you to
We
death
love
for
you.
sure.
We love you, Miss Toria.
Mm-hmm.
You ride with all of us as much as you can. I truly, truly thank you for your support. I truly love you. I thank you so much. So I appreciate you riding with me through this whole show, all of the shows. And
Mm-hmm.
so if this is your first time, or even for my regular viewers, please share this show. Sit down and watch this with your families. Like Kenny said, don't forget to hit the notification button so that
Right.
when my crazy ass goes live, you can catch my content. Share the show. But you can find me and Kenny on
Yeah.
TFG under the various banners. We on the TFG tonight with Brenton Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Kenny has several shows. The Sports Hustle. He's got his own channel.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us every day now on the Black Hollywood Report, posting content stories, building that channel. We need your support. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification so you get everything that the TFG family is all about. If you don't know Mr. Lamb Leverty, he is the epitome of Barry Gordy,
Right. Yep.
to
Sure
have a
is.
Black man who wants everybody he's associated with to
To win.
succeed and share in the
Yeah.
wealth. I love that man. I'm proud to be associated with him. And so support his platform, support mine if you can. And
Mm-hmm.
so have a happy Father's Day. Enjoy
And happy
yourself.
Juneteenth. Hey,
And happy
patronize Black-owned businesses. If you haven't done it today,
Absolutely. It's a
do it
double week.
tomorrow
It's a
and
dual
Monday.
weekend.
Yeah. Patronize
Absolutely.
Black-owned business
Yeah.
if you can. So let's get it.
Look,
Let's get it done.
if we are our brother's keeper. If we don't got
Yes.
us, who gonna have
Right.
us?
Right.
You feel me?
Exactly.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So, with that said, you know what? I will see you guys on the other side. Have a great weekend. Peace out. And as always, be good to each other and keep it real. This has been
Much
Real